This is Directors Talk Film.
All right.
Yeah.
Today we are reviewing the Stone Creek Killer movie, directed by Robert Enriquez. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, James.
It's
Thank you for
awesome
having me.
to talk to you and catch up. It's been a good minute.
Yeah, that's for sure. I was thinking this morning, it's actually been a long journey.
It
In
has been
fact,
a long journey.
I don't even remember how it came about when you came to visit me at Manhattan Beach Studios, but we did a little mini tour.
That's right. Yeah. So, just to give a little background on how I met you, Robert, it was right as I was getting married. I finished up my film, and it was a year before the pandemic. And I made my film the year before the pandemic. And Actually, no, was it 2020 or 2019? No, it was before. Met you before I made my film. That's right.
Yeah, it was
Um,
before.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we came out there on a little mini honeymoon, and I found you on a Kickstarter, and I, donated
Oh, that's
to
right.
Cash for Gold,
That's right.
and I loved, wanted to support. I was supporting like filmmakers, and one of my friends was like, "Hey, you should, go on Kickstarter and look at things and talk to people," and that's what I did. And then I messaged you and you responded out of the countless, I don't know how many emails I sent back then. You
Yeah.
replied. And then I just happened to come out there the week that you messaged me.
Uh,
And I didn't know you, like, and you said thank you for donating. And you're like, hey, come to the studio. And you know, my wife and I had, just got married, and you
yeah.
came out to Manhattan Beach, and it was a lot of fun actually.
Good, good,
the
good.
the tour. It was so much fun meeting you and the studio because James Cameron just sold that studio.
Yeah.
Man, time
Crazy.
flies.
I know. It's nuts.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was so much fun, and seeing the journey y'all have with Cash for Gold, that was awesome. And just
Yeah.
all the little nuances, how the cinematographer, I knew the cinematographer. That was kind of
Yeah.
funny. That was such a
Such
small world.
such a small world, and it keeps getting smaller as we keep getting older, that's for darn sure.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that you made Stone Creek Killer,
Mhm.
and I saw your post that was on Amazon and it was number 6, and, I watched it, and, it was a thriller. Depending people what they would call it, thriller horror. Is that the right genre you would call it?
I think, yeah, in the psychological thriller world, when I talk to the horror podcast people and horror reviewers, they call it horror adjacent.
Horror adjacent,
So I'm
okay.
like, all right, I'll go for that.
Yeah, I like those types of films. I like,
Yeah, right.
psychological thrillers. I think they're fun.
Yeah.
And just a FYI, for anyone listening, spoiler warning. Yes, we're going to talk about the movie in its entirety. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it right now, please. I don't want you to get ruined by any spoilers that I talk about. So please go watch it. And we have a lot to unpack in this episode. So, uh, first and foremost, if you could just give a little background of who you are and how you got into the filmmaking industry.
Mm, uh, okay. Well, that was a great intro. Robert Enriquez is my name. I grew up in Florida. I went to the University of Florida. I started off in the acting world. And then just I loved being on set because sports was my background. So I
Hmm.
just loved that camaraderie and teamwork. So in the film world, whether as an actor or not, I'd always be the first one there and the last to leave because it was so much fun to be around that energy of all these people working together and scurrying all around trying to make this project that's all stems from this little stack of papers. So I fell in love with that challenge that gets thrown at you on the daily, and just never looked back. I was going to do different things in my life, and then it turned out I got into the entertainment side with the acting and the producing. I own a talent management company, which is my primary day job, where I represent actors and writers, directors for film and television, and I've been doing that since 2001. I was an agent a little bit
Wow.
before that, but the management company's been a long time. And then just we sprinkle in productions, whether it's
Hmm.
something that I'm trying to do on my own, which is not very often, but for the most part, it's a client's project, or a client wrote it, or a client wants to direct it, or a client wants to star in it. So that was the basis for for me wanting to start my management company, is to grow to where I could make those connections and learn how to make films, and then try to make them with the clients so that we can all do these together. And it's worked out that way, as you saw with Cash for Gold and with Stone Creek and with other projects in the past.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's interesting because as I went on my, directing journey and writing, that's exactly kind of the uh, essentially what I did, like networking, really big, learning people who are in the industry. You're trying to learn and grow, and you did that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was again back to the enjoying the teamwork aspect of it. And again, I was from Florida. I wasn't from Los Angeles. I didn't have this network. I came to town just wanting to do it, not even having any idea how to do it. So you learn so much on the way. And
Hmm.
then I always figured, as the management company grows, that's a big network of people that you can keep tying in. And, if you're coming at reps or financiers or distributors, they don't know if you're coming at them as trying to pitch a client or trying to pitch a script. So it's
Hmm.
kind of opens up a lot of doors. And it's just like they say, your network is your net worth. And I
Right.
found that to be very, very important.
That's awesome. That's great to know because anyone listening that's wanting to be a filmmaker, learning where to start, there's so much in filmmaking that a lot of people don't really understand. I learned that too. There's so much to filmmaking,
Yeah.
not just making the film itself, but after the marketing, the money, everything. There's so much that goes into a film and the entertainment business, and it can get
Yeah.
overwhelming to some people. So
Much.
let let's talk about Stone Creek real quick. Thank you for that background. I'm curious how this got started. How did you come about Stone Creek Killer?
That one came about. It was early on in the management days. Like I said, I started the company in 2001. I think the first time that script was presented to me it was around 2003. I should know solid numbers. It was 2003 or 2004. It was so long ago. And it's like
Right.
just the way things change, like, even circling back to what you were just talking about, making the film and the going through all the processes and distribution and marketing. It's like it changes every day. It's like it's mind-blowing how fast things are changing. And then, you know, with that coming in, it was part of a screenplay contest where they would send us a mail carrier crate of paper printed scripts, and you ask for 20 or 30, then you read them and you give scores, and then they have this whole contest where I'm sure they're just reaching out to every rep in town to try to, facilitate getting results. So I had an intern who read it, and I had another script that was kind of similar, the small town thriller vibe, and he knows what I respond to. I really like those kind of projects a lot. So he presented that to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is the kind of project I like. Let's start pitching it. So I started pitching it to pretty much anybody who would listen, whether it's reps who have actors or distribution companies, and we just started that journey. Again, like I said, it was like 2003 or 2004. We have had to go through many different versions of it, just chasing rebates. And okay, well, Louisiana is the way to go. Let's try to write it for Louisiana, because it started off in Maine
Hmm.
and just kept changing in different spots. The writer, graciously did a rewrite, for it to work in Arizona, and then we did one for California. It just kept changing, and then finally, you know, the full circle moment of how, like, the town where we did Cash for Gold, like, okay, that rebate's good. If we make this really small, this makes sense to shoot there. And it all lined at that moment, and we made it in Minnesota, the same place where we did Cash for Gold. And it was a different film than what we had set out to make early days, where, it was supposed to be like a $7 million film. And when it was in New Orleans, we had Ving Rhames as our lead, and
Oh
Denise Richards.
wow. So it
Denise
just it changed throughout the
Oh, yeah.
cycle of
Oh,
making
yeah.
it. Oh
Yeah, I was
wow.
just trying anything I could to get it made. It was never in my mind whatsoever to be the director of the project. So we actually had, David Armstrong, who's a big level DP who did most of the Saw films. Like, he wanted to direct it. So
Wow.
we spent a good amount of time going through that process with him. And it didn't end up working out. But then that's just that long, long, long journey of getting these things made, which, I guess they
That's
don't
so
all take that
interesting.
long. Yeah.
That's so interesting, learning the process of, having it ready and then all the things you're going through trying to make it. That's really interesting about the tax break thing too. I find that fascinating because here in Texas, we're based in Houston, Texas. We're
Yeah.
not the fancy LA. Uh, you know, uh, we just got a huge film tax rebate
Yeah.
that got passed. So I'm like really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I think Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey were big
Yep.
champions on that. Getting that bill passed, which is great for us for making films in the state of Texas.
Sure.
But that's unique looking at where you're going to make your film to
Yeah.
help it financially. That's interesting. I don't think a lot of people think about that. They're like, okay, I'm going to make
Oh,
it
no,
here
no, no.
because I'm here. So, like I say, like low indie people that don't think about that. If they end up finding money, like you're looking at where you're able to go to help that rebate.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much a prerequisite when you're going to people who deal in film first and foremost. Like I was sitting with an investor EP distributor yesterday, and they gave me a list. We want to work together, but the list is okay. We need to find a place that has a certain amount of tax credits or rebates, and that's like that was number one. They got to be able to do some sort of foreign sales. They have to make a film that fits a genre where, okay, we can put this in at least 1,000 theaters. Like there's a whole process of how they want to go, and that's someone who's versed on the film side. So to me, even, I go after a lot of people who aren't typically financing in the film
Hmm.
world. They just want to get involved. So then you can't really, with all honesty, just say, okay, yeah, we're going to make a movie and it's going to be like the Blair Witch and make all this money. I'm not one of those guys. I'm going to be more, you're probably going to lose everything, but if we play our cards right, we should break even. We should get your money back.
Wow,
It's
that's
never,
pretty realistic.
yeah, it's never pitching that, oh, you're going to make all this money. Is it always a possibility? Sure, sure, it could happen. You could also win the lottery. But the realistic approach is following all those steps that
Hmm.
the film financiers would do and apply them the same way as you go to anybody. Because in business, they're going to want to know what's your process? How's this money going to come back? And let them know the realism to it. And that, more than likely these films don't make their money back. But on occasion, you will get some, or you will get it all back, and a very small chance you might have a home run.
That's awesome. That's great to know because
Yeah,
I've talked to a lot of friends who've made shorts.
yeah,
I've met a few people who've made features, and that sentiment is kind of the same. Like, hey, we made our money back. We didn't make anything, but we got to make our movie. That was our objective, right?
right, right,
Everyone thinks filmmaking, and then like you said, Blair Witch, that gosh, made millions of dollars.
yeah,
On a
right,
very little budget. I can think of a ton of thrillers that were low budget that made millions, and that I guarantee that wasn't their intent to go make that, and that was going to happen. They just wanted to
yeah,
make the film,
right,
and
right,
it ended up doing well. Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
That's fantastic to know. I love learning that. I love learning the business side because I don't think a lot of filmmakers think about that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
really don't think that, and as I've delved in my journey as a writer director and learning about the money side, I have a few friends, and I'm not gonna name drop them, but they're producers, and they kinda gave me advice about,
yeah,
like, "You gotta learn the money side,
yeah,
because without the money side, you making a film, it's not gonna help you." Being a real director and making a budget and going here, someone giving you, I don't know, say $5 million,
yeah,
they have to trust in you that you can manage that correctly, right? I can only
right,
imagine what was handed to you, and then, okay, you got all this money, now you gotta make the film, and, don't blow it, essentially, you know what I mean? You know?
right. And you got to be in it. It's like they say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Like
Mhm,
with so many things in life, and you can't. You get into production, and if you get that lucky to get the money and then get into production, everyone's hearts are pumping, and it's so intense. And you shoot your 10 days or 12 or 15 or 20, whatever it is, and it's the most
mhm,
intense thing ever. And then you got to get through post, which is always months, of
mhm.
editing and then doing sound. And then you got to, find, maybe during that same time, you're trying to find a distributor. So you're going through all that and going back and forth, then negotiating and finding out who's going to do what, who in your gut feels like they're going to make the most sense, or even on top of that, who do you want to try to have a future with? Like, do you want to work with this person multiple times, or is this, what's your, there's so much more after that shoot. And then even once you get released, it's like, how much marketing are they going to do? Some distributors will straight up say, we're not doing anything. So,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
did you have any money left over to pay a publicist to try to get out there to do paid ads? I mean,
Hmm.
it's that, like I was saying, it's a marathon, and you got to be willing to go through all these steps. And to me, I actually enjoy that side of it. I like the production and all that too, but getting in and like interacting with people so random, like there's so many weird things I would do, from like making business cards and handing them out to every person I see, showing where the film is playing, to stalking people online on Instagram who I know are fans with some of the actors and say, this is coming. It's like, there's things you can be doing all night long to keep pushing, because you just don't know what's going to trigger that algorithm to get more,
Hmm.
likes or views or just any kind of circulation. And it's like I said, it's just, it's ongoing. Even now, we released that film on Thanksgiving, and I'm still pounding people on Letterbox. I'm still trying to get people to leave Rotten Tomato reviews. I'm still going through social media. I was doing some paid ads still up until about, I guess, last week.
Wow.
So
Well,
it's just,
you got a review from me, and I actually just I saved my draft in Letterbox, so I'm about to publish that after this call. So yeah,
oh,
I did. I've been doing that. I got the review on Amazon. About to do the Letterbox. I definitely like to do reviews, especially
thank you.
things that I like and things and I also like to critique. You
Yeah,
know, I definitely love to critique, and
yeah.
not to be mean in any way.
No,
Like and that's the thing too, like, as filmmakers and this journey of this podcast, we're going to talk to directors, we're going to talk about the films. Not everyone's going to like it.
oh
Not
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
not everyone's going to, some people are going to have a lot of problems with something and it sticks out to them. That's fine. The
right,
goal of this is that, for people who want to make something, how do you make it?
right,
And
yeah,
what does it take? And I love that. That's the process that I love.
right.
And listening to everything you just said, that that kind of goes into what I was going to ask next, is like the direction, like how you went about directing this film. What was some of the challenges you had directing this film? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, no, no. Of course, I'm just trying to think first. Let me categorize directing, not actually getting the finance. And you already talked about that
Yeah,
journey.
we talked about the
20 years.
financing.
Oh,
I have a lot of
yeah,
categories
yeah.
that the
So,
podcast is going to go through, which is going to be like the financing, themes, direction, performances, cinematography, and
yeah.
sound.
Okay.
So right
So,
now we're hitting the direction right now.
yeah, the direction on it, the toughest part was just, first of all, we shot it in 10 days. So
10 days?
yeah, that's
That's
tricky.
quick.
We, this ties into directing and producing, as it's a low
Hmm.
budget film. And I was, carrying the bulk of both sides. Is didn't have an on-set producer. The writer was also not on set, which, when you're flying through stuff, you want to make sure, did I cover this
Hmm.
story point? Did it make sense? And it's like, I get frazzled because I'm thinking about locations and how much
Hmm.
time until we have to break for our next meal. And, is it going to rain? And then, how are the actors feeling? They've been sitting in makeup for 2 hours because I don't, might not have something ready yet. So juggling all those things without having a writer on set, a producer on set, and even after the first couple days, we got rid of our AD, so we didn't have an AD either. So
Oh wow.
it was a lot of things to keep in your head and keep the ball moving. But those were probably the bigger challenges. It was not a real big cast, so that wasn't super difficult, and everyone came to play. They knew what they were getting into for the most part. That it was going to be really fast. We're basically running on what you know whoa, the dunking booth, um, running through a lot of pages a day. So that was a bit challenging, but that's just to be expected on something you're going to shoot this fast. And I'm very excited. With the lead actor we chose, Clane. He,
Yeah,
you
Claim,
know,
great. I was going to
yeah,
bring him up in a little bit. Yeah.
he knows that world and how fast it is, and he works really hard, and he has his head wrapped around a lot of things. So he's one of the few actors I've ever worked with who are like, understands like, well, where's this prop? Why isn't it here? It's motivating me to this, and it's also going to be in this next shot. He just has his
Mhm.
head around everything that's evolved around his character, which is great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say, summing up the direction part. Now that kind of goes back into the next one. I was going to talk about performances. You kind of led a great segue in there.
mm,
Is your cast? You mentioned that it was a small cast, and I've thought about that too in writing. Like, okay, what can I make? I can't get big 'cause that's hard, but
yeah,
let me get a small amount so that I can work with that, and
yeah,
especially the short amount of days. I've actually thought about that right now in a current project that I'm trying to make happen.
yeah,
Um, and having Klain, it seems like that was great. Like he's the main character,
right.
but great actor. Tell me
Yep.
what it was like to work with him and his performance.
Yeah, he's super solid. He's one of you know, those actors who shows up and he knows what he's going to do, and it's very, very strong. There's really no adjustments on anything. He's just got his head wrapped around it, which is really nice. And there was early in my career, I was working on a film that still hasn't gotten made yet, but with these years that
Yeah.
go by, you never know. We had Donald Sutherland, who was interested in
Uh,
playing our lead, and he would reiterate to us that the direction part is over if you cast the right person. So he
I
was the
like that
same
quote.
way. The way he had his head wrapped around everything, like he sat and went through the script, page by page when we met with Sutherland, and it was amazing, like how in depth he was with his character and what was happening from cameras to lenses to just everything about it. And Klain, and I told Klain this too, like he reminded me of him quite a bit because he was the same way. He saw things not just at the next block, he would see them through the whole neighborhood. Like it was really nice to have an actor who had his head wrapped around it like that. And we went through a lot of script edits together because again, knowing that he was going to have to be on set, every day, just about
Mhm,
every scene, it's like, what is he going to feel comfortable in delivering? So when we had like little over 100 page script, and we trimmed it down to like 70 something, 80, whatever it was, we trimmed
mhm,
way down like 30 pages. It's like, it's okay. He's got his head wrapped around it. He knows what he's going to deliver. When we get on set, it's just everybody else keeping up, because then you're putting a lot of pressure on everyone else. Like, okay, we got a
mhm.
small crew because we have a small budget. Can these guys light this thing, be ready for the next one? Because Klain's going to be ready to go. So those kind of
Hmm.
challenges. But yeah, Klain, he was just talent wise, he's a super talented American actor, in my opinion.
So
So
that
solid.
leads to one of my next questions is that for people who are indie working on smaller projects that don't get an ability to get an actor at his caliber, one thing that I was offered advice with a couple of producers are like, you can maybe try to get someone rather than local or someone small if that's your ultimate goal.
Yeah.
If you have enough money, maybe they'll say yes. Is that a true statement that like if you think maybe I know I'm not talking like Leonardo DiCaprio, but like getting working actors in the industry
Yeah.
and trying to reach out, is that something you think independent filmmakers can do?
I mean, that's basically what we did. This is a very small budget film. And it was a relationship, in regards to getting Klain. I tried to get him for Cash for Gold. He wasn't available,
Mhm.
but that opened the door. He watched the short film, which you were part of,
Yeah.
right? Or no, no, that was a
The
Kickstarter
feature,
after.
the
It was
feature.
a
Yeah, it was a
Kickstarter
Kickstarter
after.
for the feature. Yeah.
But you knew of the short and how we
Yeah.
were going.
Yep.
So he liked that, and he liked that I made small films. So we spent time, so we had a little bit of a relationship. But other than that, it's just because I saw contact info on him on IMDb. I didn't even go through his reps, which you usually do, especially as a rep. But I'm like, I'll
Mhm.
try this out, see if I can get a hold of him. And I did, surprisingly. And it's just, can you get actors like that on an indie project? Yes, they want to work. They want good material.
Right.
So the key is to not just be, throwing noodles against, like, have your stuff together. I had with that as a sample, I had Cash for Gold as a sample. I had the script already ready. We were already financed. We had a lot of things in place. So if someone, if you have all those things ready, they're going to take you much more seriously, but you just
That
also don't know. Someone might just like doing indie films, or someone may say, I only want to work on studio stuff because I got a family to pay for. I've done small ones. I haven't enjoyed myself. You just don't know what is going to be in the head of those people you're sending it to. So it's always worth trying.
that's great
But
advice.
yeah,
I'm glad
yeah,
you told me. That's awesome. That's great advice. I know you never know who you can get. I
yeah,
love that you said that, like, you had everything ready. And I feel like some people think they're ready.
yeah, right,
What kind of advice would you say for people, like the things that they need to be ready for? Like you just said, they need to have script ready,
yeah,
financing ready,
yeah.
and then essentially production ready. Like if they're ready to start going casting, is that what you would
Certain
say?
things about it. Like if you have a date, that's going to make things more intriguing because they're
Hmm.
not like, oh, you're just going to put my name on here and then go try to find money. So a lot of people don't want to get tied up in that game. Plus, they're not going to commit because they're not going to be committed to something, and then another project comes along and then they'll miss out on it. So the more you have ready, obviously, that's going to push you farther. And then it's those relationships. Like, even like you said, you want to keep making films again. You're ready to start doing that. You're doing this podcast. So
Hmm.
to me, that's smart. You're in Texas, so you're not even here. But let's say, the 10 of the next people you interview, now you have relationships with them. And it's like, okay, you come to me, Robert, can you get access to so and so? Then, okay,
Hmm.
well, maybe we'll put you on as an EP, Robert, and then you can go get to this person for me so I can build my whole slate. So it's all working that network.
That's
So,
yeah. And
uh,
that might happen.
yeah.
I might
Uh,
come to you for some projects.
No, but it's
I
super smart. But even then, it's like, I'm not the actor type you're going for, but if I'm an EP who can get to some financing or a distributor or an actor that you want, and you bring to
Mhm.
me a script that's super solid and you got the lookbook already made and you know when you want to shoot and you got maybe even just a partial amount of the financing, then maybe I can help fill some of those things for you. And then that's going to be with just about anyone else you're going to have on your network is you try to find out how can I find the people that I want to collaborate with and
Mhm.
what can I bring to them to get them motivated versus you just say, oh, I'm thinking about writing this script and I want to shoot. Like I hear that so often. And it's like, you got to do your homework before you expect someone else to take the ball and run and do great things for you. It's like you do your part and then you hand that to someone. It wouldn't make sense for me or someone else not to help, if
Yeah.
they really believe in the script and the other elements you have in place.
I'm gonna quote you and put it on my wall. If that's okay, I'm gonna put your name like right here. That quote was great. If anyone's listening, I'm gonna take a sip of that because that was great advice for anyone. Um, and I that you said it that you hear that so often, and I laughed at that. One of the things coming back to the performances is you had a cameo in your movie. You had an
Yeah.
actual scene, not a cameo. I would say
Yeah.
you were actually in your film.
Yeah.
What was that like?
One, it's one of those great things where you're like, okay, I can save some money. I'm already there. Okay, it's a tiny town. There's not a lot of
Yeah,
options at all. So it's like you can audition and audition, but okay, if I know that I can play a role, one, I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
yeah.
And I've done it before, but it's also okay. There's no hotel, extra hotel. There's no extra flight. I'm in SAG. I've been in SAG ever since, I don't even know, since SAG started in the 1800s. So it's like, why, why not do it? So it was fun. The more compact you can keep it. And of course, I still audition a lot of people and hire locals, but they're just, we were based in a town that the population is like, I think it's 4,700 people. There's not a lot. And then not a lot that, okay, I'm going to put them on screen with, with Clayne or any of the other
Mhm.
actors and not be able to deliver, which, we had some bumps like that too. And we were able to, get through them. But that's one of the things that is difficult when you're in a small town like that. You're not going to have that big talent pool. So it was okay. I can play this role, can do this easy. Let's check that box and we can move on.
Yeah, I saw you and I was like, "Ah, there you are."
Yeah.
Yeah, your character and it provided a great, background to the story, and it filled it into the main character. Like everything was coming in and I saw it and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
No.
Seeing your character and knowing you and then seeing the character is kind of funny.
Uh,
Like you just I love that's acting, right? You get to play a character.
that's
But I
the
mean, the performances though, like having Clayne, Lyndon, Brittany. Brittany was on Oh, now I'm blanking the show.
Hello.
Glow. That's right.
Uh,
Loved her character on that. Wonderful actress. Um, and then you had was it
she's not.
Wilmer and
She's not.
Robert?
Brittany is on Paradise right now.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Well,
She's on Paradise. That's right.
and The Pit.
Oh,
So
that's right. She's on the pit.
yes,
My wife loves the pit, and she's also a nurse. My
that's
wife's a
right.
NICU
Of course
nurse.
she is. She's Filipino.
That's right. She Filipino. That's right. Filipinos. You got to represent the Filipinos. That's the funny thing when we met. That
Yeah.
that instant connection right there.
Yep.
I love that, and yeah, she's addicted to that show. So she'll message me and she's like, "Oh, went to bed like as I was watching the pit."
Nice.
Wonderful show, wonderful show. But no, like having all these great actors to work with, that's got to be such joy,
Oh yeah.
and people you want to work with come in bringing that back. I can only imagine. So I look forward to having that experience
Yeah.
and my next project, elevating, trying to grow,
Right.
right? I can only imagine the better, I say the better, but bringing an actor and having that craft with your story, just elevating the story, I
Yeah.
just got to be so much fun.
Yeah. You're not fighting for a performance. Like I said with Clayton, you put the camera on, you better make sure everybody else is ready, because what he's gonna do is gonna be gold. You just want to capture that and then move on to the next thing. And that's, I felt that was pretty much how it was with every actor in the film, and felt very, very lucky to have that on my hands.
That's awesome. Breaking now to the next bullet, I would say, or structure is cinematography.
Mhm.
I know you're saying low budget short, everything's short. How was the cinematography, like the choices with your cinematographer going into making this film? Like, what was the planning involved?
Yeah.
What was the prep? I mean, I know I didn't know if you had a preference or like working with the DP on like equipment. I'm being a little nerd gear on film gear
Yeah.
right now.
No, for sure. Because that's not, I guess I can't say that as much as I used to, is I don't know that stuff very much at all. But I've learned a lot since Cash for Gold in regards to lenses and how I want it to look. And that's
Mhm,
the thing is I focus more on what I want it to look like. So when I first when my editor and often collaborator, Robert Debouchet, he presented a bunch of reels from DPs who were in Minnesota. And this one I saw I liked, and it was Christopher Lang who shot this. He had a lot of stuff that I liked. And then when I started the interview process, I take like stills. I'll go on a computer and I'll look at either artwork or photography or movies, the
mhm,
three, and literally in that order. And then I'll frame it and I'll do a screenshot. And then I said, this is how I want the feel to be. This is the colors I like. This is the color palette. This is, the type of composition that I would want to use to tell certain elements. So then they can start wrapping their head around it. So then in the interview process, we talk things through. And then after he sees what I want, he tells me okay, you're going to need this lens. Like, okay, I kind of knew that already. That's the lens. Those are the ones I really like. I like
mhm.
50 millimeter. I like 80 millimeter. Like I
Yep,
know which
those are really
ones I want.
tight shots. Yeah.
And then even though there was things that it's hard, because then you got to start thinking about the business side of it. They want things to be a certain way, and I want to, if I'm going to get to make a film, which is not as often as you'd ever want it to be, you're going to want to make the film you want to make. So most people are wanting you to compress everything. I went the other way. Like, this thing plays so great on movie theaters, but we
Mhm.
didn't know we were going to get in any movie theaters or festivals. We hoped for it, and then you also have to be ready to have them edit it down for TV and telephones and everything else. So that process was talking with Chris and making sure that we captured everything so that it would translate into the different mediums while still having the look and being able to get the composition that I wanted. So that's where we went with the choosing of the lenses and which ones, because
And camera.
you can't rent every lens that's out there. You're not going to have the money
Right.
for it. So okay, we get four of them. So which four are they going to be, or which five? Or maybe we schedule something towards the beginning, we rent this lens for its day and then we can return it. So we played through all the different scenarios, and then I
Well, which
believe
camera did you end up picking
we
to shoot
shot
on?
with the Alexa Mini.
Alexa Minute. Yeah, very popular camera.
Yeah, same one that we use for Cash for Gold. Same
Yeah. Great
stock.
camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, great camera. I mean, I have my Sony FX6, if anyone's watching, right up here.
Uh-huh.
And then behind this right here, I have my old red Gemini.
Mm.
It's so crazy how fast red has changed. and I still have my Gemini, wonderful cinema camera,
Ah. So
great
you're
for low light.
so you're doing Sony now?
For shooting documentary running gun when I was oh, I
Yeah,
can't even point correctly.
yeah,
But yeah, that I love that camera for the lightness coming from the Gemini.
yeah,
And then going into the FX6, I loved how light it was and
right,
then easy to work with. And then my film partner Daniel, our co-host as well, he loves Sony. He has the small FX3 and he loved the FX6. He uses it for his day job. And I'm noticing a lot of the FX6 are becoming very popular
yeah,
for like small indie work, small documentary work
right,
because of the workflow and simplicity.
yeah,
And it comes down to tool. You're telling a story, it varies on the tool, right?
yeah,
And I'm arguing with him right now about which tool to use for the project we're working on. And like at the end of the day, it's like we have equipment, save money.
right.
If you have the equipment, why would you go buy this or rent this,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Um, and
Yeah,
that's my biggest problem. My last film that I had is that I put too much money in renting. I learned that. I learned the don'ts.
yeah.
So this next time, I'm going to be very strict. Like, what do we have? What are we using? Let's go.
No,
But
use
that's
what you have.
awesome.
Use what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have
Use
for
what you
sure,
have, and then
and
move
make
forward,
more.
right? And make more.
And make more. Shoot more often. Why
That's
not?
yeah, if you have it, why not? And that's
Yeah,
that's that's the point, right? I have it, why not? I got to do it. No, that's fantastic. I noticed the film a lot was very very dark
yeah,
and very focused. Like you said, you like tight shots.
yeah,
And I noticed it was a lot outside. It was a lot of following the main character around in
yeah.
this town. Um what was the struggle like shooting like that?
With the outdoor stuff,
Yeah.
you know,
Or was it fun?
it was fun. I like it, and I really, really like using real locations, like a real house or a real barn, those kind of things versus anything inside of a studio where you build stuff. I've never really enjoyed those as much. I really like being
Mm.
outdoors, but I'll tell you one thing, dealing with rain, because coming from LA, it's not something that you really ever think about. Like it's not even on your mind. And then we get there and like, hold on, the crew's like, it's going to start raining in 30 minutes. I'm like, oh shit, no, I did not know that. And then we're gonna have to stop.
You
But like,
started you're like scratching your head like
oh, and they know it. They've got like, the technology now. It's going to start in about 9 minutes. Okay, so we got to
Mhm.
wrap this up in five. Like, okay, then 3 minutes go by, it's fine. Four, then it starts getting dark. Then the wind starts going, and you see Clayton's hair blowing. Okay, that's not going to match. If we got to wait till the wind stops and then shoot again. So they're just weird things like weather. The damn mosquitoes are insane up there in the summertime. That's another thing we
Oh.
don't have here. I mean, like insane. Like it's really problematic. Like they would fly inside my eyeglasses when I'm trying to look
Oh,
at the
man.
monitor. They're all over the talent. So those are weird things that you just don't really deal with in LA, and you definitely don't deal with them in Minnesota when the snow's 5 feet deep either. So that's a different challenge, like what we had with Cash for Gold. But
Yeah, that looked like a very
yeah,
interesting challenge on that one.
yeah,
We'll unpack that in an episode and bring Deborah in because I have a lot of questions on that film,
yeah,
which is awesome. I would love to talk about that.
yeah. What
That's
do you got?
fantastic on the story. I love that. I love the cinematography. I love the way it looked. And the story again, it was building up. Right, it's slow. It's building up.
Yeah,
Um, and I liked how the character you're guessing like what the character was going through. So again,
yeah,
spoiling Clayne Carl's character, right? Carl. Um, and there's a couple deaths, children,
yeah,
and trying to investigate it, and the psychic. That was a really interesting
yeah,
um put in the film of having the psychic come in,
yeah.
seeing her and her visions. I thought that was really interesting in a way that
Uh-huh.
Carl's like, oh, like maybe this is real,
Yeah,
like
right.
I really liked that. I liked how it it was starting to really sell him each time we keep bringing her throughout, right? I was like, "Oh, this is really interesting." And then
Yeah,
you had a question, right? The question was, "What did he do?" That was the one question I was like, "What did he do?"
yeah,
You kept making me wonder that. So that's why I'm like, "What did he do? I want to know." Like I want to know what he did.
yeah,
And you did a great job at that. I thought.
yeah. Thank you.
Going through being waking up drunk, going through everything,
Right.
him confused.
Yeah.
I like how you blended those together.
Oh,
um
good.
and that's, I mean, I got that. And just the sound design that went into that, the sound design, the sound, I thought was great.
Yeah.
I thought everything blended really well. And any anything you would have done differently with either sound or the cinematography,
Sound was
or was
sound
that
was a
tricky?
tricky one. It was a tricky one, you know. But she was having to double up and do other jobs too. Like I said, we didn't have a first AD, so it was, you know, it still was smooth. I mean, I was super happy with my small crew and how much they were able to deliver. But the sound on the post side to me was very crucial. And the guy that I've used a few times now, he actually, again, he did Cash for Gold. I think that's when I
See, you're
first
working
found
with
him.
people. Yeah,
He's
you're working with
just,
the same people.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. He's so professional and fast, and he's way into sound design. So I was like, okay, this is a perfect scenario, Andrew. So I just love what he brought to the table. And it was, you know, again, Bobby, my editor, he puts a lot of temp stuff in so that when we get to sound, they already know what we're thinking. And
also kind of the feeler look, or
yeah,
I say feeler look, but really the
yeah,
sound look, right,
yeah.
of what you're looking for.
Yeah, and then I tell him, I said, "You know, these are what we are thinking. If you have different ideas, I'm 100% open for it because if you're gonna come up and elevate something, I'm happy to take credit for it."
That's
So it's
awesome.
like so it's
That's
like
unique thinking, the prepping of what you're looking for, ready to go to hand off so that
yeah,
they're aware. No, that's good to know. That's fantastic. I'm always curious because sound design, audio, very end, right?
yeah,
That's kind of near the completion of the film, right?
right,
That's really
yeah,
like getting everything dialed in. That's yeah, that's unique. Um, I do want to talk about really the twists of the film that I was like, "Oh, I'm coming to the end,
yeah.
a little bit," and I'm jumping around, I apologize if I
No
am.
worries.
Um, the twist was great. I really liked the twist. I did not see it coming.
Mm,
Um, I had an idea, but I was more confused because again, you led us to believe this
yeah,
character, right?
right.
And, you know, the twist coming in, and I'm spoiling it, so please watch. Was it Trent?
Trent, yes.
Trent, and then, was it Meredith? Am I saying that
Yep,
right?
yep,
Okay, yeah, and the twist between 2 of them and how, you know, it was a little bit bigger. There's a reason for it, what they
yeah,
wanted to do, you know, against Carl and what happened. I really liked it, and I thought it was very powerful at the end that, Trent, who I think is it Vincent?
yeah,
Plays Vincent, right?
yeah,
He that last end scene I thought was really strong
mhm,
when he switched from being new
yeah,
cop to, "Hey, guess what? Surprise." You know, I thought that was really strong, and I really liked it. I was like, "Oh, this is" it pulled me in, and I was
yeah,
like, "Oh, this is great." And then, you know, the ending. It's like, you you don't see that many films do what you did.
yeah, yeah,
Usually it's happy-go-lucky or, "Oh, the hero is saved," or
right,
this is a little different. No,
yeah.
a little different, and I liked that.
It's a tragedy in a lot of ways, a lot of
And
ways.
that comes back to, like, the themes of the film, right?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
the things you put, like death, choices.
yeah,
Could you talk on that? Like,
yeah.
your theme process?
Yeah, and I mean, it's in the script, and it was just playing into it, you know. And then again, going back, we trimmed a lot out of the script, so it's like, how do we keep all these things moving forward? And I feel we were pretty successful in doing that because a lot of people, there's a few people now that it's pretty widely released. You're like, oh, I knew that, and I'm like, did you really? Did you really know
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, no, I didn't, so that's why I'm saying it was a surprise to me, so I
Yeah,
really enjoyed that,
right.
right?
And then a lot of people, you know, along the way, they've said the same thing. We didn't expect that to happen or see how it came. So I feel that, you know, again, it was in the script that Clint wrote and we were able to capture it and keep my goal was to keep the tension and suspense going the whole time until we got to the end. And then we let it unfold. And it's not some kind of syrupy happy ending. Not at all. It's dark and there's
Mhm,
tension throughout and it's based on a, you know, a tragic, you know, tragic vibe and story of, you know, you don't have many, some people get to a place where they don't have anything to live for. And these guys came in and were able to manipulate to fulfill their serial killer desires.
right,
So it was a, if it's a sappy, happy ending, it's for serial killers, which you don't see that very often.
right. The villain one,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that's his film, The Villain One, and
Yeah.
that's You don't see that often.
Right.
No, that's something I like. It's unique. You
Yeah.
don't and seeing more of that and the originality is what I love too in the films and storytelling these days.
Yeah.
Um, no, that's awesome. Thank you for telling me that. One of the other questions I had too was distribution.
Mhm.
I'm coming back to that. I
Yeah.
see vertical right when the movie started.
Yeah.
Me as an aspiring, actual trying to make my debut in feature film, I would love that soon.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was getting, that process?
Um, the way that came about was, and it's how I've been able to do this with the last few films, is we once we get into editing, I try to get some sort of teaser or trailer going and letting them know, like, it's all about momentum to me in my head, at least. It's like, let's keep this momentum going. We got production, we had announcement of cast and the trades. Now we have a trailer. We've already got past the big danger zone of getting everything shot and in the can. So now that we're going through post, let me shoot this trailer out to distributors that I know. Now, Tony, the guy at Vertical, I didn't know him personally, but we've crossed paths a few times. He was at festivals that I've been at. He's been at other companies where I've put films into release. So he's one of the people of a list. I'll have a
Mhm.
list of people that, that I know of, that I get, good response from other producers. Like, oh, like a dear friend of mine. Did you ever meet Viviana Zaragoza?
I don't know.
I can't
I don't
remember if
think I did.
maybe at one of the
Maybe
festivals. She does a lot of financing, and she's one of the ones that,
I may have.
yeah, I reached out and I said, what do you think about these three different people? And that was, with a couple different reach outs, it was the same result. I think vertical is the way to go. So pitched it to them, they liked it, then they asked for a screener, then they watch it, and you keep narrowing it down to, okay, now let's say we got three. Which ones do we feel are the most excited? Which ones do we think are going to get the most results? And which ones are going to elevate our careers? So it's just, putting all those things in the mix and just trying to make that decision, because you just don't know. You just don't know. And even if think you made the right choice and they get it out there, you don't know how people are going to react to the film. And I
Mhm.
can't say that I would ever think that that's the distributor's problem. I had a distributor who was a close friend a while back, and you'd always go, we're all going to get it out to the same platforms. It's just depends on how much people like the
Mhm.
film and how much they even know about the film. There's a reason why these guys make films for 150 million and then spend 150 million just to market it,
Mm.
because if
Yeah,
it doesn't
that's
get in front of
insane.
people, yeah, you don't have a
That's
chance.
insane.
You may have the greatest film in the world, but if nobody gets to see it, you're dead in the water.
Right.
So that was the process with them. It was just getting them the sizzle, then getting them the screener, and then negotiating and getting to where, you know, there was certain things we wanted. We were excited that they put us in, like, I think it was 6 or 7 different cities. I think it was 6 different cities. So that was exciting for us to be
That
on
is
the big.
exciting.
Yeah, because like I said, we shot with the anamorphic lenses and it was big
Mhm.
screen look, and it's like, well, it needs to be on the screen somewhere. So
Yeah, my first film was on anamorphic lenses as well. I love that, and
yeah,
yeah, I loved that look when it was on the screen.
yeah,
Oh yeah, that's just it's the movie feeling, right?
right,
Like, hey, my film's in the movies. This is what I dreamed of, right? When it
exactly.
played in festivals, that was really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, I mean, learning and listening. I love this world. I love storytelling,
right.
all these great movies out today. And I know like theaters are kind of going away and it's all about streaming, but I still love
Yeah,
film. I still love
yeah,
going to the movies, right?
yeah.
And I liked this. I liked the movie. This was a lot of fun. The only thing I would like to say last is really just any advice for young filmmakers,
I think we've covered a lot of that so far, and it's just just
or let's
do
say
it.
like a zinger. I say zinger,
What's that?
like a less snippet for a filmmaker who's on their journey.
Yeah, I think like we touched on earlier when you were talking about equipment, if you get yourself in a place to where you can just do it, just keep making them, whether it's a short, feature, documentary. The more you shoot, the more you go through the whole process, the more you're gonna, if you call yourself a director, then direct something. Doesn't have to be an Oscar winner your first try. You just keep doing it. So to me, that's important. Is just so many people, they put so many things up in front of them because of what can go wrong. And I always say, don't focus on what can go wrong, focus on what can go right. So I love thinking back to when I was encouraging Deborah to do the short, and then we're at a festival that was called the Hollywood Film Festival, and you know, I got a tux on, and she's all dressed up, and there's like Sean Penn and you know, Julia Rock, all these huge actors. I said, they're at this festival because you focused and you made that little 8-page script. You know, it's like you can just let it sit on your desk, you know, forever and never do it. But that's you just got to just do it. And you don't know something like you said earlier. People are going to love it. People are going to hate it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just keep doing it.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Thank you, Robert. No, this has been wonderful talking with you again,
Oh,
catching
for
up.
sure.
We gotta catch up again outside
Yeah.
the podcast. I really
Yeah.
gotta we gotta talk.
Right.
I'm so excited and happy for you and your two films. That's like, that's so awesome. Being able to say you've directed two films, that being a filmmaker, people who are trying to get there,
Yeah.
the possible is possible.
For
So
sure, for sure. And you know, you mentioned those two. I've done other ones that are much smaller too. And like I said, it's just about just doing it. And they all got distribution. So it's like, you know, some people love them, some people hate them, but you're just building a resume and you're doing what you love.
that's awesome. Well, thank you for being on
Of course.
again. This is the Director Talk Film Podcast. We hope you enjoyed everything you listened to, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
This is Directors Talk Film.